Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world. It's your boy P. Welsh here with another UFC picks, previews, and predictions. This time we got UFC Fight Night Perez versus Taira. Should be a pretty doozy. We got 13 fights booked. We were 7-7 last week, 3 split decision losses to the ladies. Tough one, but let's get it on to this week. Couple upsets. This card's looking pretty substantial, and I like a lot of the matchups that the UFC gave us. Opening up the card, we have Belaqualze Costa versus Nerdom Becky. In the featherweight division, we have Costa at 20-7 coming off a loss, and Nerdom Becky at 39-11. 50 professional fights, 2-inch height advantage and 2-inch on the reach for Costa here, and he's coming in there at a pretty, sizable favorite there at minus 175, I believe. And for good reason. He's a polished prospect with a lot of potential, but I think he's feeding a lot on the hype train. I think stylistically he gets some bad matchups where if he's not in control of the fight in the featherweight division, he has he's not able to overcome his opponent. That's what I've seen. I'm a big Costa fan, and I really wanted to pick him here. I was leaning initially, but as I was going through and just seeing the competition and the potential for this fight, I think he could be in a lot of trouble if he gets in there and takes some damage and can't control the distance. Nerdam Becky has been in a bunch of fights. He's not going to be able to afraid to bite on the mouthpiece when he needs to. He'll wrestle him when he needs to. He'll grapple him, control the fight. As long as he can exchange equally on the feet and do damage to Costa, I don't see why Nerdam Becky can't win this fight pretty handily. If not even get a finish, maybe a submission, something spicy in there. Open up the fight card. One of our, we're in the Apex this week, so that should be. I think this one go. I like Nerdam Becky here. I think he'll either get the decision win or get a submission against Costa. He'll stand and fight, play some good defense, but I think as he has a smaller octagon, less room to escape, he'll just be smothered by the end of the third round. Nerdam Becky in the featherweight division, first fight of the night. Bang! On to the women's strawweight division. We got Josephine Knudsen versus Julia Polostri. 10-0 Knudsen versus 1-1 Polostri. And this one, she's 12-3 professional record overall, checking outside of a mixed martial arts. Excuse me, I misspoke there. In some of her Brazilian, she's 12-3. And I like Knudsen here. She's a pretty big prospect. She's a pretty polished fighter. She's had a lot of experience inside the octagon. And I don't see too many reasons to break down Polostri. Let's see what she has and can bring into the octagon. Right? Her striking should pose some threats to Knudsen, but at the end of the day, I think she'll be able to control the octagon, fight her fight, and she knows what she wants to do when she steps into that octagon. I think we'll see her get another unanimous decision. Definitely a step up in competition over man there, but I think this one will be going back and forth, and we'll see in this judge's scorecard for sure. I like Knudsen here to get the job done. Really just be clean with the exchanges. I think you'll see just a class better in striking from her, and that's why I'm giving the official pick to Knudsen there. Next up, bang, we got the featherweight division. Jika Saraji versus Weston Wilson. 14-3 versus 16-9, coming off a win, coming off a loss. I'll tell you, Wilson, big height advantage here. Not the biggest reach advantage for having that many inches. Still pretty sizable reach advantage. All I have to say is Wilson has went up against some absolute killers. Now, there's no shame to him losing to Gene Silva and Anderson Brito, but other than that, outside of the promotion, I don't really have much to really hype on him. I think he's fought some people, and I don't know if they're giving him another shark right now with Wilson. Is he just that guy for the company? Now I'm not saying that Sarah G is perfect. He got knocked out by Jubilee, but has some more potential. It just seems like he's gonna just come in there with the, he just. I don't want to say anything about Wilson because he just went against absolute killers. We'd all lose against those guys. Sarah G, though, I think he will feast on that and look for that finish as well, seeing what other people have done to Wilson. It's a big mental check for him, and there's just no way I'm going to have any confidence when you're going against two people in your past that knocked you out, and this other guy that looks like he's ready to come in there. Very Muay Thai heavy striking. I think he gets the job done and can control with grappling as well. So I think Sarah G can have be able to defend himself, exchange and win. And I expect to see a knockout here, to be honest, from Sarangi. It's a little bit, with the big reach advantage, but I think as he gets in there, you're going to see a big strength advantage for him. And I think that's where he puts out Wilson. Another one where, if Wilson gets the upset, that's great for him. But I'm just never going to be picking for that to be coming up. Next, we're moving on to Carl Judas versus Gabriel Fernandez in the women's flyweight division. Did that there. Sorry, I didn't do that at the beginning of the video. 7-7 last week. Okay, so we're getting big week. We're having a big week. We've been priming here for a big week. I got Carly Judas here. I know she doesn't have the experience, but neither Gabrielle Fernandez hasn't shown me anything inside the octagon when doing some research on her. She's lost a couple decisions. She can win by finish, but I think Judas is going to come in here and put on a clinic. Making her debut. I think she's not going to be afraid to let it go. She's not going to be thinking about, other things. She lost on the Contender Series via split decision. I think she's going to want to take out somebody and, win with she does have 3 finishes before that. And I think she just comes out like a cannibal, doesn't feel the pressure, gets in there and gets the job done. Judas here. By finish. I know it's an exciting card. I think the Apex is going to bring a lot of finishes. I think the fighters, one thing we weren't talking about with all the decisions in the last few weeks is the much larger octagon compared to the Apex. So I think we're going to see a high level of finishes this week. Going to be getting on to some exciting. June is going to about to be a fire month. We got this card, Saudi Carb, McGregor, Chandler building up to. So we're going to keep it short. I think a lot of these fights may be pretty short. This one may go a little bit longer here. We got Josh Quinlan in the welterweight division against Adam Fudgett here. 6-2 versus 9-4. Josh coming off two losses to not bad. He lost to Danny Barlow. Not too bad. Adam also coming off a loss. But the one thing that I was looking at when I was breaking down this fight is Josh really struggles with the length, right? He's a Contender Series prospect coming off 2 straight losses. Quinlan, definitely expect him to have the speed advantage with that. But that being said, it's just when it comes down to him, is Fudgett going to be able to do the damage from distance? And I think so. I think he'll be patient enough. I don't think Quinlan presents a difficulty. Maybe if he starts to grapple him, he can get into some trouble. I definitely can see that happening. Right, if Quinlan is taking too much damage from the outside, and if Fudgett's defense is not good enough, 50% takedown defense, that is one that. But it also looks like he might have the takedown advantage. I really don't think Josh is going to be able to do his game plan against somebody like Fudgett here. I think this is a prime for him to take another loss. I just don't like the stylistic matchup for Quinlan. I am a huge fan of him. I think he's got so much potential, and I think he really embodies what it means to be a fighter. I think he could take home a surprise KO win. It wouldn't shock me. But just right now, as I'm going to pick it, I'm going to try and hedge against that just because this is one that I might think about Friday and Saturday. Be like, damn, why did I ever not pick against Josh? But, early in the week here, trying to break it down, I'm definitely going to be going Adam Fudgett here. Just with an overall performance, probably win by the judges' scorecard, and I could see Josh trying to make some plays in the 3rd round, getting caught, taken down, and just controlled for the rest of the fight. That's where I kind of see this fight ending right there, and we can probably go to the judges' scorecard. But Josh is definitely going to be going in there, guns a-blazing, trying to do some work after a couple losses. He really knows what he wants to, really wants to be in the UFC and wants to make a name for himself, so he's willing to put it all on the line. That's what we love about Josh. This should be another exciting fight. I think it's going to slow down. I don't think these guys got the best gas tanks, and that's why I definitely like Adam in the 3rd round by judges' scorecard. Next up in the flyweight division, you want to talk about some scrambling and grappling here. We got Jimmy the Flick versus Nate Maness. 17-7 Jimmy Flick versus 15-3 Nate Maness. 3-inch on the height advantage and the reach advantage. Little 4-incher there for Nate Maness. I tell you what, there, Jimmy Flick, if he gets your hands on him, watch out, because he'll put your lights out. The problem is if he can't get his hands on you, if you can outstrike him, then he's in a world of hurt. And that's basically kind of what we've seen for his entire career. Like the stylistic matchups where the guys don't let him get close, he can't get close to him. But the guys that want to get close to him and grapple, he's gonna win those exchanges. I think Nate really does control the outside. I think the length helps him do a lot very well on his takedown defense. Jimmy's always working and getting in there. That's something where I do think, as I'm looking at this and breaking it down even here, I wanted Jimmy, but I talked myself onto Nate. This could be the classic reverse onto Jimmy, but I'm not doing it here. I'm going to stick with Nate Manis here just because I think he'll put a well-rounded fight together. But again, saying it again, small octagon in the apex. Jimmy's going to get your hands on him. And if you can take him down, it's going to be a long, long day for Nate Manis because Jimmy is just an absolute machine when it comes to working the submissions and the positions. And it's scary to pick against him again, but something just tells me this Nate Manis is going to show up. He's just going to put in a performance and just be overall better than Jimmy Flick. And that's when I think Jimmy has some problems. And that's why this one's going to be a hell of exciting fight. You'll see some nice exchanges. See the gas tank on Jimmy and see what Nate has too, because Nate's going to have to hold him off for a while, right? We'll see how the weight cut is for these guys. 125s are never easy. So that's just also one thing to look for at during the week. If somebody misses weight, you might lean them to the other way. But right now, early in the week, I'm going to be leaning Nate Manis here. But Jimmy Flick, if he can get his hands on him, he's live for the submission. I actually really like a lot of these guys to get some finishes this week with the small octagon. And I think there's just a lot of potential for, I don't even think the upsets are necessarily right, but there's just a good finish percentage just because I just think we have some absolute killers and a little bit of, in not lopsided matchups, but in slanted matchups, in favorable matchups, right? And I'm not saying, and that's what I'm saying here is this even favorable for Jimmy? Because if Jimmy can get Nate to play his game and get his hands on him and actually take him down, wear him out, it could be a wraps for Nate. He could be sleeping in the first round. You're like, come on, Nate, do something. And he's got a rear naked choke by Jimmy, who's got plenty of weapons in the tank. This is a fascinating fight. I can't wait to watch this one. This will probably be 15 minutes of high-level grappling. Probably be a split decision at the end, but maybe one of these guys can get a finish, catch somebody in a mistake, and should be one of the better fights that we've seen in a little while. Next, we're into another flyweight bout. We got Taira Ulanbekov versus Joshua Van, 16-2 versus 10-1. 2-inch reach advantage for Taira versus Van. And I don't know what to say about this. I mean, we're all a big fan of Van. He did have a rescheduled fight against Taira that got moved to this week, split up, and whatever. Taira has a rescheduled bout against some of these people. How are you going to pick against Ulanbekov? I don't know how you're supposed to pick against him at all. I love Joshua Van, but this is one of those I don't want to have to be rooting for the underdog from behind, which is why I think Ulanbekov is probably just easy money. I can even see him getting a finish here as well, but I could definitely see just big decision win for him, controlling all 3 rounds, fighting the fight that he wants to fight. Van might press, might try and get into positions that he may make one mistake, and when you're in a fight against high-level people, you can't make any mistakes, right? And if you're trying to gain an edge, you're putting yourself at risk of making a mistake. And I think Ulanbekov is one of those guys. He will punish it, and he'll control time, he'll do damage, and all of a sudden you're in the second round, you're on your back, you lost the first 2 rounds, and you're going into the third round, and what are you going to do for Joshua Van? That's what I kind of think is going to be happening here. So, I mean, I like Ulanbekov pretty easily. He's one of also a considerable favorites. For the weekend, I think there's a few of them that are pretty close, and then there's some like this that are a little bit, a little bit more. Minus 225, though, not as much to the juice as we're getting on some of the other guys later in the card. There's a lot of juice on the bone some of these fights this week, and I really like the opportunity for some plus money people to come through, especially early in the card, and then maybe a little bit chalk, especially later on. We'll be getting into that some more. Bang! But Ulanbekov, pretty easy in the flyweight division. Then it's going to bring us to the prelims, unless, Dana wants to change something else on us. Going to the ever-dangerous bantamweight division. We got Brady Heinstad versus Garrett Armfield. Talk about some good old boy names right there. 8-2 versus 10-3. 2-inch reach advantage for Heinstad. Win percentage pretty well rounded for both the fellas. Striking advantage for Armfield with some good takedown defense. And I think this is one of them classics, grapplers versus strikers. And I like Armfield here really easily. I'm not saying Heinstad isn't going to come in here with that motor, with that ability to try and get it close, grapple, but I think Armfield's defense will be good enough, and he will win the exchanges on the feet with the legs. I just think sometimes when a more wrestling proficient guy comes in there, not proficient. I think like wrestling dominant like Bo Nickel is different than wrestling proficient like somebody like Brady Heinstad. You have to develop the hands behind it. Otherwise, if you can't, like I said, make that person commit to the exchanges to get off balance and try and land a power shot on you, then you won't be able to actually read when they do the takedowns, right? You'll be fishing for them, and then their balance is going to be more controlled, being able to move back, sideways, while you're just going forward. I think Armfield is going to have a significant advantage here in the striking department and with some defense and give Brady a long day. Honestly, I'm not saying we could see a finish here, but this could be one that it does go either way. We could also see a flip around reverse in the third round if these guys let it get that late. It could be going back and forth. But I expect Armfield to really control some of the rounds. I expect Heinstead to get some good exchanges in there, probably wobble him a little bit, try and get a takedown for sure. But I also feel like once he gets that takedown, even if it's mid-second, he's not going to really be able to have the control time, do the domination that you really expect. And I could see this one going to the scorecard just because I can see Armfield really just playing great defense, really winning the striking exchanges, and showing what it's like to be a cage fighter in the UFC to Heinstead. Now, these guys both got some scratch in the game. They have some experience. But when I'm kind of looking at it, I'm always looking for those guys that have the edge. And why overall I think the edge is always in the wrestling, what I've also feel like I've experienced in the last 3 years specifically is those elite level strikers that have defense, Sean O'Malley, even Leon Edwards. Like, they can defend takedown well enough. They have good hand fighting. These guys that develop it, it almost comes a little bit more natural. Like, the natural strikers are also very good at natural wrestling defense. I think the balance and what they're aiming for, they can pick really small windows to win in, right? Break the hands, roll the shoulder, get the underhook, flip from the cage. Like, I think the strikers are kind of more proficient in winning these little exchanges in the grappling department when these guys, just with the way the octagon is, if there's a more unforgiving thing as a backdrop for going backwards and defending the takedown than the octagon, I think the game is a complete game changer for wrestlers, right? But that octagon allows a base for the strikers to stand, and I think that's where we've seen the wrestlers that aren't just the proficient and not dominant guys, really kind of struggle in the last couple years against these guys that have a very well-rounded game set. Bang, Garrett Armfield. I think let's get it done, dude. Next, we're in the flyweight division. A bunch of these guys. Usu Ulabayev versus Jose Johnson. 19-2 versus 16-8. Massive, massive height and reach difference for Jose Johnson here in the flyweight division against Alabayev. And I know Alabayev is a massive favorite, I believe, in the minus 500. And it's hard to bet against him, man. Coming out of the Kazakhstan region, they've had some absolute killers over there. And really, it's hard to see a losing condition for him, right? Lost to just some great fighters. Even Tarig is one of his only losses. What is Jose Johnson going to be able to do? Is he going to be able to do the damage? Is he be able to control this guy on the fight? While he has some nice results, there's nothing that stands out that he's going to actually do the damage. I think this is Alamayev, and I think he'll be able to get a submission, probably something a little cheeky with his strength. I think he's got a good strength advantage from not having the big height, but I also think the awkwardness of being that tall against somebody that much shorter in the flyweight division is going to cause an issue for Jose. And that's why I think it's really easy that it's Alamayev, just because I think he's just going to be dirty boxing, the in and out, the elbows, the just whatever he's able to get Johnson in a bad position when he's trying to win those exchanges, right? Because you just can't defensive punch the whole time. Like, it's just not going to work against somebody like Alamayev. He's just going to come forward too much and work and just get you down at some point. He's very creative with his takedowns, and I think be able to exchange equal enough to get in there and make Johnson off balance. The thing about being at such a crazy metric disadvantage and difference is the fact that there's going to be some balance opportunities in this fight on both ends, because if Johnson can get low, that's going to be the thing, is like, if you can't get low with somebody like Johnson, you're just going to get off balance, lift the leg, sweep the heel. Somebody that's quick like Almabayev, you could be in a long day. It's pretty easy. Maybe submission here. I don't know how this can go. But I mean, there's only one way, in my opinion. Almabayev. It's all day. Coming into the later end of the card, we got Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles John. 29-5 versus 14-2 in the ever dangerous bantamweight division. Metrics very much on part. And man, this one I was going back and forth on. I am a Miles Johns fan. But that being said, he scares me in some of these fights, especially when he's fighting somebody that probably is not thinking twice about anything besides killing him in Douglas Silva de Andrade. He has fought everybody. He is not afraid to win, lose, fights against Stanman, Syed Nurmagomedov, Leroy Murphy, Piotr Jan, Marlon Vera, Robbie Font. The guy just does not care. He is going to go at Miles John, and I think it's going to be a class up of something that Miles has just not experienced in the octagon. I got De Silva de Andrade here. I can see it going to the judges' scorecard pretty decisively. Nothing too substantial. That resume on there, I know we're not gonna. I'm not gonna look too much at the age difference. John is 30, and I think de Andrade is 38. So I said the speed advantage could be there if if Miles is in and out before he can hurt Douglas, then it's gonna be wraps. He doesn't really have more of that, but my thing is he's going to stand in exchange, and if he does damage to Johns, is he going to be able to recover? Right? That's the thing about, he can take a loss, but Miles John, that is, but he has been finished by some people, Mario Batista and John Castaneda. John Castaneda did not have his best fight last week. He also did face somebody amazing, in my opinion, in Marcos. But Batista is also very, very solid as well. So, those are way younger in the earlier days. Takedown defense is great. I think these guys swing for the fences. That's why I think Silva de Andrade gets a little bit of the edge in the power department. I think he has a little bit more clinical there. And I think he'll be able to get this done. Very close fight. I mean, look, it's basically a pick 'em, even money. I like Miles John. I really hope he wins. But just in terms of having to pick somebody laying my line in the sand, I'm going de Andrade in the bantamweight division. Get a little bit of a slight upset win here. Bang! We got a few more fights here. We got the featherweight division. Timmy Chuamba versus Lucas Almeida. 8-2 coming off a loss versus 14-3 coming off a loss. And I tell you what, I was going, I always want to pick Lucas Almeida. He's like tailor-made, great record, Brazilian grappler. But the thing is, my man is softer than Charmin toilet paper. He just gets punched and folded. That's something about these jiu-jitsu guys. Something like Moises is like, I think when this guy gets rocked, he's just going to go down and he's not going to get back up. And that's why I got Timmy Chuamba. I think it's what's going to happen. I think he's going to get in there, and I think he's going to do a little bit of, some damage, and Lucas is just going to go down. He's going to try and grapple him. He'll probably get some exchanges, but I could see this one going to the judges' scorecard. Neither of these guys want to get finished, and I think if anybody does get finished, it's Lucas Almeida again. I just think he might just not be UFC timing ready. Like, I think he might need more time for development. I mean that with no offense to him as a fighter. What I saw in that Andre Fili fight was just somebody that was going against a cage fighter that was in a grappling match or something like that. Fili came in there so clean, so fast, and ended him. And I could see Timothy Chumba getting in there, ending it with like a ground and pound. I definitely can see something like that. I see Lucas trying to get a position, maybe even play off his back, hit a ghillie, gets out of it, and then is in a bad position, can't get off his back, takes some damages, he's cut. Chiamba advantage. That's where I got going here. When I was looking at Lucas Almeida, even some fights before that, Pat Sabatini, a lot of canceled fights. Lost to Zell Huber. That's not a bad loss at all. That was his first one, but I'm not too crazy about anything that he's even done against anybody significant. So, Bruno Tavares. So we'll just we'll keep going on here with Timothy Chumba. Lucas put the L on my record. Almeida. Keep it short and keep it sweet here, because I think these the next one is definitely going to be short and sweet. We got our boy Ikram Alskarov. versus Antonio Tricoli, bro. And look at this guy's shorts, bro. There's no way you're gonna pick this guy out over Askarov. Just Askarov all day, bro. He's an absolute menace and a machine in the middleweight division. Probably should be ranked, maybe ranked after this fight, but I mean, the guys, this fight might last a minute or two. I believe Tricoli was supposed to fight somebody the other week, pulled out, canceled, changed. This guy's got no chance. He's minus 900 Askarov, and I mean, what first round KO is probably going off at like minus 200. It's gonna be disgusting. Askarov is actually a certified contender. He's maybe one of the scariest prospects in the entire promotion that nobody talks about, and I can see this one going in about 1 minute and 9 seconds, 69 seconds. Nice, Askarov, easy money. Bang, middleweight knockout. On to the main event, flyweight of the evening. Alex again Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. 25-8 versus 15-0, 5-round main event here. And man, this one's going back and forth here. I like Taira here as I'm leaning off here with my prediction, my picks, and I'm picking him overall. But Perez has the classic contender, or prospect versus contender matchup going on here. The one thing, so I think Taira is a high-level prospect. Once you get to the flyweight, the lower end, if you were that good, that young, you tend to just keep ascension. He's got the length. He's got the reach. He's going to come in there very well polished. He's going to be able to grapple. And I think Perez can get off balance trying to exchange again and just lose. 3 fights in short time for Perez is a little worrying for somebody that's maybe trying to push it a little bit. As a fan of Gilbert Burns, when you fight 3 fights in short turnarounds, it definitely can wear on you pretty quickly. Like, we're at 3 fights in 3 months. The lack of training camp, the lack of rest, the mental reset, something that just happens at the end of it versus a top end prospect like Taira. And that's where I'm just going here. It's not saying I don't think Perez can win and make it competitive. It's just I think at the end of this run, he's going to be like, man, I should have just taken a little extra time and not been such a company man. But he's like, if I can win this one, I'm fighting for the belt. That's what he's thinking. He's betting on himself and he's gambling on himself. I'm picking against that just because of some runs that I've seen, and it's another weight cut to 125. Is it really going to be one of those things? Is he going to have the gas tank? Is he going to have the conditioning? Going to have the rest, right? Like, it's not the ability to output. It's the ability to recover and stay sharp. And that's what I think is worrying about 3 fights in 3 months like this for Perez, especially against somebody like Taira, who is just an absolute class prospect. And I think we will see ascend once more in this main event. I think a very stacked card. I'm excited for the Apex Octagon, not the Apex itself. The atmosphere of the arenas is amazing, but something, I guess the fighters are feeling out the newer gloves. The timing of it might be a little bit off. I don't really know. Maybe they're being more hesitant, but we're going to do a little recap here. A beautiful fight night card. I cannot wait to watch it yet again. We're going to start over here. I'm going with an upset early on. Numa Becky. We got Knudsen. We got Sarah Jean Judas. Adam Fugit. We got Nate Manis and Tariq Ulanbekov, Garrett Armstead, Almabayev, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Timothy Chumba, Alskarov, and Tatsuro Taira. Again, predict 100% of the card right. Leave it in the comments. I'll pay you $100 if you get all the fights correct. Thank you. Likes, comments, subscribe. We're getting a big winning week here. I'm feeling some absolute juice. A lot of I feel like a lot of solid favorites when I feel like a lot of 50-50 fights that we're trying to get a good cage fighter angle here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hope you enjoyed. Peace and love, everybody.